Oh, her gloves are off.
Oh, they're on.
Okay, so off. They're off.
So you don't put boxing gloves on?
No, you punch bare fist. That's why we say take the gloves off. Right. Unschooling, schooling, debate. Take one. I think honestly, there's just a few things because you follow one of our mutual Facebookers. I kind of think she was very rude to me, to say the least. Dana Martin, right? Mm-hmm. And anyways, you follow her. You had a bit of a session with her, and whatever. Mm-hmm. Unschooling versus okay, you said unschooling, homeschooling, and then there's schooling.
And then there's radical unschooling.
Radical unschooling. Mm. Okay, let's talk about.
I've always wanted to start a page called Not So Radical Unschooling.
I'd join that page. I would like that page.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Take my knee out. So, all right. Here's my thoughts on some of this stuff, and they're just some thoughts, and it's. I would take the gloves off. No, all right.
Bring it.
I think, you know how I've always viewed your way of schooling or being at home with the kids. I always thought that it's very commendable. I think it's awesome. And I actually had this conversation with my friend Tracy over the weekend where if there were specific programs that were more tailored to kids in the sense of life lessons. So if I had the patience to keep them home all day, I would, but I don't. Second of all, what?
I'm just going to write that down so I can answer the hell out of that question or statement. Go ahead.
Okay, so Tracy and I had this discussion, and I always said, me and my I guess my kid's father at the time, he was my husband. He and I always discussed about homeschooling the kids. And I always thought it was a great idea, especially because of all the crap that happens in schools with all the bullying and all the, and especially in the States lately, with all the shootings in the schools and stuff like that. And it's just at one point I was like, well, it was a fear to put my kids in that school because I thought they would get better quality education at home. But I never knew how to do it. So it was a big fear of mine to do that. A big fear of mine also is your little patience statement there that you're typing everything down on. Because I have I need my time to me. And I don't think I'd ever get it because I know you never have time for yourself. So really you don't. No, you don't. And I need that. Because I need that quiet time. I need that couple hours of my me time. But me and Tracy were talking about specific programs that if there was some available, that I think I would pull my kids out of school and do these hands-on type of programs. So Tracy, for example, wants to run some outdoor education program for kids. Basically teaching them specific life skills for outdoors. Camping, whatever, right? I think it's a great idea because you know what? They're going to learn so much more about how nature works in that than they ever will out of a history book at a school. Second of all, I think that if you were to teach your kids more of the stuff that they were tailored to be, so if somebody would actually have taken the time for me and guided me more in the sports part of stuff, I think that, when I actually was able to combine hockey stats with algebra, it just became easy for me. Mm-hmm. I was able to it just connected with me and all the little lights came on. So I think if you can kind of tailor any type of education to what your kids are really, really interested in, I think first of all, they grow their own self-confidence because they know the stuff.
Sure, let me know when I'm up.
I'm sure you're coming up to bat right away. But so for me, the pros of the schooling is that I get to, first of all, I have a little bit of me time so that I can get my work done. Otherwise, I just would never know when I'd have the actual time. And then I would have to deal with a lot of that, I think, guilt feelings to that stuff. But I think that to me is a huge pro. The second one is that they get to go with their peers and they get to do all this stuff. But I really, 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 really wish that schools would tailor it as you can in homeschool. That to me would be the ideal school system.
Okay.
And go.
Okay. So there's school, the education system. There's school. There's homeschool, which is pretty much you teach your kids at home what they would learn in school, right? Government guideline curriculum, and increase it if you'd like, because when you're teaching them at home, you can teach them probably like a week's worth of work in one day.
Yeah.
So it's very advanced when they're at home. When it comes to homeschooling. Now, there's unschooling, and then there's radical unschooling. And if there's any other type of homeschooling or unschooling, these are the ones that I'm familiar with, okay? I'm not an expert in this area. This is just my experience that I'm speaking of. Now, I'm a little hesitant to voice my opinion when it comes to the education system and homeschooling/unschooling, because I posted a fact once on my Facebook page, and I was literally like cyber attacked to the point where it sat with me for days. Like, I felt so beaten up and abused, and
you should have seen her face when she came to the gym that night. It was like,
and there were some nasty things said to me and judgments sent out to me, and all it was that I just posted a fact, because I do a lot of research. Like, that's my life. I research, and I posted something that a fact of why the education system was created and put into place. I'm not even going to go into it because I don't want to be attacked again. But then again, I was like, you know what? You got to love the haters.
Hey, you know what though? You caused controversy that day.
I
did. I think at the end of the day, when you can cause that much conversation,
it was me stepping out of my comfort zone, and it was the first time really that I had caused that much controversy. And there was, 50% of it was negative and 50% of it was wonderful.
Yeah.
So I basically chose to sat in the wonderful, and then I ended up deleting the post altogether. So I have a few wonderful friends who are amazing teachers. I used to work in the education system. I used to work in the schools, and I love it. I love it. There are a lot of different schools, and there are a lot of things for these children, definitely. And before I go into why I homeschool, okay, again, this is me, why I do it, I just want to say that if you choose and you feel great and you feel so much better, and it is your only option to put your kids into school, I completely and utterly respect that and support you. And for me, this is my choice for certain reasons, and I am okay with that as well. So I just want to put that out there, that I think Lynn's an amazing parent, just as amazing as I am for having her kids in school and me having mine at home. Do you know what I mean? Because judgments can go either way. So I just want to throw that out there.
Well, I think you kind of have to let a parent their kids.
Exactly.
I mean, this is the best interest of the kid.
There's two things you do not talk about, especially over drinks, and it's parenting styles and religion. Okay?
Yeah, especially
Yeah. So anyhow, so Dana, okay, so first of all, the patience. Okay, I don't have the patience to be at home with my kids.
Well, okay.
I think is bullshit. I'm going to call bullshit on that.
Okay.
Because you do what you got to do as a parent.
You do.
You do what you got to do as a parent, and we are so adaptable. We are so adaptable. Trust me, if you knew me 10 years ago, you would be like, it is safer for that child to go to school.
It's true. I guess you would learn. Yeah. You would learn, because I mean, we do have them all summer long.
Yeah, and you dap with it, and then by the last 2 weeks, you're like, I can't wait for these kids to go to school. But if you were home with them all the time, when I began homeschooling, it was a shit show. Like, it was nuts for a long time, and then things settled down, and now my kids are settled. They're in routines. They do what they gotta do, and things aren't so crazy. It's just like you see them. Like, yeah. Sometimes it's crazy because that's how kids are. They have bad days. But most of the time, it's like, meh. You just do what you got to do.
Well, what I like about what you do with your homeschooling is that they actually do go out in those groups.
We do attend those groups.
Yeah, like lots of it.
If any of you guys are interested, please go and follow my Facebook page entitled My Journey into Unschooling. Because what I do, I just recently posted a picture of, I don't know how many people, 60 people, 50 people, that we're there gathered for this one field trip. So me and the kids are gone 3-4 days a week, and we attend like homeschooling groups. So then we get a group of about 6 to 12 families with different ranges of children. Some are the same age. We make sure to look at that. And then for the entire year, every Tuesday for 3 to 4 hours, we connect those kids together.
Yeah.
And everybody volunteers. You know, it's kid-led workshops and whatnot. So my son would lead, you know, he wanted to teach the kids how to create a website because that's what he's into, right? And so we do that every Tuesday. Every Monday they have like 2.5 hours of drama. And then Wednesdays they would have gym and swim. And Thursdays was the field trip day. So it was whatever type of field trip was going on. And Fridays is French class. We go to the university for French. So, I mean, like, we're out all the time. Things that I can't teach them, I sign them up.
Yeah.
And in my homeschooling group, and there's a ton of homeschooling groups, there's 150 families in this one homeschooling group. So every field trip that we go to, there's 150 families around, sometimes that many, who attend.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, it's not, like, one of the biggest misconceptions out there is that homeschooled kids are unsocialized.
Yeah, and I think there's a bunch of reasons for that. I think that mentality, because that was one of my thoughts too. Until I met you, until I found out what you did, and and to be able to connect with you during the daytime is next to impossible. So the fact that we were able to meet today at 2:00 was.
Well, my kids, they don't play a lot of video games, but I'm okay. Like, now that I'm doing the unschooling thing, I'm also practicing allowing them make choices to a degree. So I basically, they have freedom of choices, but me, they don't know this, I plant kind of choices. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't have anything around them that I'm going to say no to.
Yeah.
So I'm practicing that right now. It's very hard, trust me. And so right now they wanted to play video games. So I'm like, all right. You know, they brought their cap guns. Yes, I know, cap guns. But I mean, kids love guns,
boys.
right? Whatever. They brought their cap guns. They brought their bow and arrows. They were play at the park. They brought their video games. Whatever. But that's one thing that I promote too is freedom of choice, right? Because you're told what to do all the time when you're in school. You have to do this.
Yeah.
You got to do this. You got to do that. And that presented a big problem for my one son.
Yeah.
Because he had certain challenges. So it didn't work for him. Now, as for the unschooling and the homeschooling and Dana Martin. Dana Martin is a hard personality, and she advocates for so many radical, like thousands and thousands of radical unschooling. I don't agree with shit that she says. I'm a life coach, and I'm very freedom, right? And she's also a coach. But it's almost like she's got to be so hardcore because she's advocating for these people, for so many people, and she's getting beaten up all the time.
Well, do you think, though, if she was to take a different approach on how she did specific things, that maybe people wouldn't be so up her ass all the time? Okay, we'll explain the story a little bit. There was a comment she had posted on her page, and I think I had only seen it because you had commented on it. And so I commented on it saying that I respect the opinion of her unschooling and radical unschooling her kids. And I respect everybody's opinions and their stances on what they want to do with their kids. You either keep them home, you school them, whatever, you put them in school. It doesn't make the choice wrong. It just makes it your choice, and you think that is the right choice for you and your kids.
Yeah.
And she lets kind of her kids, guide a lot of that stuff. But her tact behind how she responds is... Mm-hmm. I'm trying to be nice.
These are our opinions. She
was such a bitch. She was a bitch. And there's a way to respond to somebody's opinion, and especially because she's a coach herself and she does all the laws and everything. And the whole, if you're gonna practice what you preach, then practice it and use it tactfully.
Her and I have had many debates on her Facebook page because she is okay with, she advocates for the children, go to bed when you want. If you go to bed at 3-4 o'clock in the morning and you get up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, then that's what you do. And my debate with that was I've spent 7 years studying holistic nutrition and everything that goes behind it in Paleolithic era and whatnot. And you literally, like, between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., you are producing certain hormones that your body requires to stay balanced between those hours while you sleep. Okay? You don't produce them when you're not sleeping. So that was my debate to her. I said, you know what, I love your idea, I love the concept, but, you know, I need to make sure that my children are healthy and that they're going to grow up and that they're going to grow to a ripe old age and whatnot. Yeah. And how am I going to comfortably do this when my kids don't even sleep during the hours that they produce hormones?
And then, but another thing that you kind of have to go on that is if there's absolutely no structure for those kids, then how do they... No, but it's true, though.
Go ahead.
I think if there's absolutely... Let them go to bed whenever they want. Well, first of all, their little bodies need... I agree with you. They need to be in bed. Like, they got to sleep during that time when those hormones are being produced. Because that's...
And that's how we evolved. That's why those hormones are being produced in those hours. That's how we evolved. We evolved going to bed when the sun goes down, getting up when the sun goes up. So in the wintertime, when all of us are on the computers and driving and working and the sun is down, during those times, we're supposed to be in bed.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be in bed.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to be up the regular 14, 18 hours. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, we're kicking the shit out of our bodies in that respect. Never mind all year long letting, when do they produce these hormones?
And then when they get older, how do they function under some kind of... And like we said, some are entrepreneurs, and they're going to make their own businesses, and they're going to make their own stuff, but some people just want to work for other people. You're dealing with that right now. And so when they have to be up for 8 o'clock in the morning, they can't choose to go to bed at 5 o'clock in the morning when you have to follow some kind of structure. The way that our world works, and unfortunately, it is that kind of world a little bit.
When we sign up for these programs, there's no way you can go to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning and then be at acting for 9:30.
No, exactly. So
yeah, but
it's in balance.
That's the bedtime though.
Yeah.
With other things, I absolutely let them choose. I absolutely encourage them to make their own choices. I've had to go and allow them to make their own choices when it comes to food. And basically, whatever I would prefer to see them eating is what's in the house.
Yeah.
And if they choose to eat the whole box of cookies, then they eat the whole box of cookies, and now they're screwed for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But you got to give them freedom of choice.
I completely agree with the freedom
Otherwise,
of choice. Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of screwing yourself.
And
that's how they learn to
I kind of like how you do it too, because that's kind of how I do it. I give them the options of something that I won't say no to.
Yeah.
Because it's just... Well,
and then they go and they make it. Like one day they made maple syrup, Havarti cheese, turkey wraps with jam and mustard. Oh, and ketchup. And I walked in and I was like, "Does it taste good?" And they're like, "Mm-hmm." I'm like, "Okay." But I mean, they felt so good. They cleaned up their mess after. They were fed. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just really nice. And then when it comes to the whole food thing, because I'm making them eat healthy, making them, when they're at home, those are their only options. They don't have to go to school and see all the packaged processed stuff and be upset and jealous and whatnot.
Yeah. Actually, my kids go to school with a lot of paleo type food, a lot. Yeah. And like they don't get a lot of sandwiches. Like it's a treat for them to get bread. Actually, Tracy was saying that the other day because we were making toast for them Sunday morning, and my daughter was like, "So do we get bread for breakfast today?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you do." She's like, "Yes."
Yeah, the boys are like that with their gluten-free bread.
They don't get it often, and it's a treat when they do get it.
Okay, so educating your kids at home. One thing I need to point out is that education is different for everybody. For me, truthfully, for me and my experiences, education for me, like education and academics are completely different.
Yeah.
When my kids are at home, the number one priority for me is how do they communicate with another person? How do they communicate with themselves? How much do they love themselves? How much self-respect do they have? And what kind of loving relationship do I have with my kids? And so on and so forth. I teach them how to love the earth, okay? Take care of our earth, take care of our planet, take care of our relationships. Those things are the things that are number one. So if they don't know how to read yet, I don't give a shit. Do you know how to communicate with another person and respect them and whatever else? Great. The reading will come. The reading will come. We'll work on that. I'll read to you until you're ready to read. See, I'm very fortunate with the 9-year-old because he teaches himself.
Yeah.
He is such a go-getter.
Very
He teaches himself. He's in grade 4 and he's probably at like a grade 7, grade 8 reading level at least, if not more. He's brilliant. Luca, my youngest, is brilliant as well. However, he's more of he's a very social kid, hey?
He's very social.
He's very social. He's a jock. He's such a jock. He can pick up any sport like that and be gone with it.
Yeah.
You put a word in front of him, he will scream and cry.
Yeah.
Like he wants nothing to do with academics.
So then let's, I'm just going to play
Go ahead.
here.
Bring it.
So the people who would have an issue with the fact that you're not educating your kids in whatever, the social sciences, and I don't even know how you say these terms in English because they all go to French school, but like, so, yeah, I think it's social, then,
Comment ça va?
well, sciences humaines, sciences naturelles, et mathématiques, which is math, but like, okay, but it would be, and then it would be like, well, the sciences and the periodic table or whatever.
Like physics and
chemistry,
physics
and chemistry, blah, 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 blah. The stuff that they need to learn, because we use it every day, algebra. But, like, how do you defend that to those people? Because they have to go to university. How are they going to be a doctor if they don't know what physics is? How are they going to be a lawyer if they don't know the law? How are they going to be a history teacher if they don't know history?
I am going to present something to you that many of you guys may never have even thought of, and you may never have thought of. But when you don't push and force a child to learn something because they, quote unquote, it's age appropriate to learn, so you should be reading in kindergarten and grade 1. If you don't push a child to do that before they're ready, when they're ready, they will learn. They will want to.
Yeah, and that's...
They will want to learn if you don't push them before they're ready. Like, okay, so I'm a life coach, and what do I promote? I promote acting on your gut, okay? And it's still a practice for me. What makes you feel good? What makes you feel good? My kids did not feel good in school because they were pushed to learn something. The majority of the day, they didn't feel good.
Okay, but then here's kind of my... Well, and don't get me wrong here.
No,
I know.
I
Fully go for this, and I'm like, like I always say, if I actually could do this, I would in a heartbeat do this.
I know. I just want to finish my thought.
Okay.
So as for the academics, I sat down with Luca today and we did 4 pages of math. How did he do that?
I don't know. He told me.
I was sitting with him and I pointed out the pictures, and there's a lot more communication other than reading.
Yeah.
And then the repetitiveness of the lesson books that we use, it's just he catches on the words by himself just by hearing me read and point. So I'm teaching him, but he has no idea that I'm teaching him. So today he reads out a sentence, but God forbid you put a book in front of him and ask him to do it.
Yeah.
He'll run crying.
That's like me. I hate reading. Actually, I really do.
And I think it had a lot to do. I think it had a lot to do with the fact that we had him in a Montessori school and they taught him how to read in one way, and then we had him in a French immersion school, and then he didn't even know all the alphabet in English, and then he was being taught French.
Yeah.
And then he was so rejected by the whole thing, and his self-esteem was so low around it. He wants nothing to do with it.
Yeah, well, I always feel, even now to this day, I feel stupid when I read, just because I was told I was stupid by some teachers. So pretty much.
Me too.
Right, but just to kind of get back on not to push your kid until they're ready to learn.
Yeah.
What happens if you feel like they should? It's the whole should. They should be reading. So I'm going to say Luca should be reading a grade 1 book, just for shits and giggles. I'm not. don't get my head off here, but he should be reading, and you should be pushing him to do math, and you should be pushing him to do, what else do they do in grade 1? Whatever, some kind of science. Like, because in life, he's going to get pushed to do something he's not going to want to do. What is your response to that?
In life, he's going to get pushed to do something that he doesn't want to do.
Sometimes,
for example,
well, your choice that you had to make between your expo and going to the fair.
I think that all comes. It all comes. It's kind of like a natural state of being. Like, that will all come. Like, if I forced him to read until he was crying, what am I doing to his self-worth? What am I doing to his self-esteem? I'm making him feel like shit. And what's my number one priority for homeschooling them? It's relationship and self-worth, right? So, I mean, I know and I trust that my son's going to read because I am taking responsibility for teaching him in a way that he's unaware of. So, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't homeschool because they want to neglect their kids, because they don't want to teach their kids. That's not why they homeschool.
No, I know.
So we take kind of like extra precaution, alternative measures. It's the same as I don't immunize my kids. So do I just not immunize them and give them shit food and not take care of them? No, I take alternative measures. We, have the fairly healthy diet, and they have supplements daily, numerous supplements daily. So their body's getting, so we're strengthening their immune system. So really, when you're an adult, yeah, you can read a little bit because there's so many people who graduate who are shitty readers, right? But the biggest thing to me is when you're an adult, it's what type of person are you? How do you feel about yourself? And how are you able to relate to others? Do you have empathy?
Okay, and then what do you say to the people that say that how do they get into college? How do they get into university if they don't have? Okay, because
that was my question,
and that's a big question because we'll talk about it in class.
That was my question.
And there's a lot of people that when you're not in class, there's a lot of people that talk about it in a very respectful way because everybody.
But they don't know.
But they don't know what they don't know, right?
Yeah.
And the biggest question was, well, how are they socialized? And the second question is, well, how do they get their diploma? Because they can't get into university if they don't have a diploma. And my babysitter's friend is homeschool as well, and he's actually challenging the provincial exam.
That's how. A lot of times, so homeschoolers, like I said, they usually are like university level by the time they're ready to graduate, and a lot of them graduate at like 15, 16, 7, like about 16 years old. Yeah. They usually graduate a little bit early because academics is a huge part of their lives. Now, as for us unschoolers and radical unschoolers, a lot of times kids will get to the point where in high school they're ready for that journey. So they'll they'll finish school off in high school, and then sometimes early, they'll skip a grade or whatever, and then they'll get their diploma in that respect. My girlfriend, who is actually homeschooling her kiddies, she's a social worker, and she was homeschooled till graduation, and she went back and she had to challenge her exams. So she challenged them. It was pretty easy peasy. Her parents were homeschooled too, so they had no idea what she had to do. So she went and figured it out on her own and did it, and then went and got her social work degree. Like, I mean, you challenge the exams. If you at 15 years old and you haven't been studying government guideline curriculum, then you make a decision, I want my degree because this is what I want to do in life. Then you pretty much start from there and you get it like that. Yeah. Because you're disciplined, you're ready, you know what you want. So you go, it's the same as after you graduate 3 years later, you go to university and it's easy peasy because you want to do it. Yeah. Right? So that's how the majority of them do it. Really? I had to look into that too because I was like, well, what the hell am I going to do? How the hell are my kids going to graduate? What am I doing? Yeah.
And I think it's a big misconception. And I think, and like everything that I was saying today is just questions that I know that you've had to deal with. And it's questions that I even deal with just from knowing you, that I get all these backlash questions. But it's interesting because of just there's such a closed mind view of homeschooling, and it's just such a big backlash. And it's But I think the thing is that people have to realize is that it's what at the end of the day, it's the best choice for what you think is for you and your kids.
Well, I mean,
and
exactly.
and if your one son, he does better in homeschooling, like, wouldn't you want that option? If he's gonna like thrive better being homeschooled, wouldn't you want to give him every freaking opportunity in the world to thrive?
Yeah. And I
Why throw him in
practice
school?
attachment parenting too, and
Yeah, you're crazy.
so look that up. Gordon Neufeld is a great resource. But attachment parenting, it's like, it kind of brings, like, I'm Aboriginal, and it brings me back to what my stepmom said was, you know, like, villages and whatever else would take care of the children while the parents went off to work. So grandparents would take care of the children, right? And they would school them, they would teach them and everything while the parents went off to do whatever it was. So, I mean, it's not that far off.
No.
Of how we evolved to stay home and teach your kids.
Yeah.
And I mean, these little things, they're so little, and to go and put them in school for a day, it was breaking my heart. And you know what I mean? Like, they're still my babies.
And I'm going to ask you one more thing here. And I know the answer to this, but people here don't know the answer to this. If your boys went up to you and said, I want to go to school, your answer is?
Yes.
Why?
Because I'm child-led. The whole reason why I'm homeschooling them is for them. If their journey, if they are wanting to go back to school and try it out and whatnot, I would fully support that. I'm not going to force. The whole reason for me homeschooling, unschooling, whatever the hell you want to call it, is not for me to force them to do something. It's for me to support them in experiencing life.
Yeah.
It's a self-discovery from day one.
From day one.
Yeah.
There you have it. And of course, all of this stuff is just on our experiences and our whatever, right? So we're not saying that this is right for everybody.
Don't
and
hurt me because I'm different. I love everybody, and I work in the schools. I worked in the schools. It's so capable of doing attachment parenting and everything else while the kids go to school. Like, you don't have to do it anyway.
There's no one right way to do it. It's whatever's right for you and your family. What I do like about what the high schools are starting to do though now is they are introducing trades. They're bringing in trades. So for those people who want to be electricians, they actually kind of get to do that.
Well, Murdoch's always done that.
Yeah, but that's
vocations, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what that is?
But it's getting more and more.
Yeah. You know what? Schools are amazing. Like, they even have that gymnastics school. So half the day they do academics, half the day they do gymnastics. Why? Because it's their passion. And hockey schools, So I mean, it's a culinary arts school, right? Yeah. Like, this isn't that far off from it. I pretty much supply all the arts, and then I make their dad do the math and science.
There you go. You'll go with your strengths.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are all, again, our views on it and our thoughts and our opinions on all this stuff. Like, I mean, but you know, before you, anybody who goes kind of out there, and before you kind of hop on somebody for having a different way of doing something, it's definitely a way to stop and think, like, it's right for them. So, yeah, really.
Why? I don't know how much I should say about my son, but I don't want to, I don't know. Like, he had a really challenging time in school, and he was not doing well. And he was to the point at one point where he couldn't even verbalize because he was so full of stress and anxiety, and he was bullied pretty bad. And then he was the bully. Yeah, he started bullying other kids. So he was dismissed and taken out of 4 schools. And if I left him in the school system, he would have been labeled one of those bad kids who are never going to amount to anything, and definite diagnoses placed on him. Like, not good ones, maybe autism. You know, he says himself, I think I'm autistic. And I'm like, hey, what the hell's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
He's so freaking smart. That kid's he's got a gold mine waiting for him in the future. That kid.
Yeah, for sure.
Very smart.
So, I mean, homeschooling him was right for him.
Yep.
And then my youngest son was feeling not as important. And that's the whole reason why we brought him home.
Yeah.
And now he loves it.
It's cool.
Yeah, now they have each other.
So I think it's really, really important, guys. Like this kind of the whole point of this little debate was like, I just want to make it so that people are kind of more allowing, in that state of allowing, because I find that there's just so, and this is going back again, discussions with some of my family members, it's just, there's just so many freaking opinions that just don't freaking matter.
Yeah.
And there's just so much shit that people place on their lives that it just, again, it doesn't matter.
And you know what? I think this is a great little chat to have, because before I knew that I could homeschool him, I've never heard of homeschooling.
Yeah.
Never heard of it. And that was only 3 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
That I first heard of homeschooling. And as soon as I did, it resonated with me.
Yeah.
And there may be a lot of people out there who maybe don't know why they want, certain things, and this might resonate with you. Yeah. So if we could offer this information for anybody who is unclear, unsure, anything like that. Yeah.
And I think you hit it on the head when you said you do develop patience, and you do develop, because I mean, when I separated from my husband, I was like, how the hell am I going to do this by myself? But you know what? You freaking adapt, and you learn quickly how to kind of ask for help a little bit.
Or you never wanted to have kids.
Yeah, and that's true too. Like, my kids are never going to hear this, but yeah, I never, when I was younger, I never wanted to have kids. I was never a big fan of kids, and I was like, well, and they always loved me, but I was like, I could do without them, whatever,
Maybe it's not in my cards, whatever.
But when I got pregnant with my son, I mean, right away, I was super happy that I was pregnant. And the first time I held him, I'm like, oh, I was born to be a mom. But, but there was a lot of lessons that I had to learn. And I think that adapting with whatever situation that you're kind of tossed with, you do adapt. You do learn. You do learn.
I remember one of the homeschooling moms saying that to me one time, and I was like, you know what? You're right.
It's a forever adapting world. And that's what's cool about this. Actually, I think I wrote this in a blog. Where the world is always evolving. I mean, look, it came from the Big Bang Theory. We had dinosaurs, we had cavemen, and then we, whatever, if you want to get into that, unless you're into the belief of it was God that created world. Adam and Eve, whatever you got. But the fact is that we are forever evolving, because even if you go with Adam and Eve, like, he went from biting the apple to, well, now you're naked and you got to get dressed, and, but it evolved. It was all an evolving world.
I've never heard it explained that way.
Welcome to Spirituality for the Rednecks.
And, okay, no, finish. I keep cutting you off. I'm so sorry.
I know, this should just be called the Tanya Marinelli podcast. But I think that people kind of forget about this little big chunk of freaking evolution, is that it was always, and it always will be, forever adapting.
Oh, here I am.
See?
And what's that quote that I started off the workshop with?
I don't know, you butchered it.
You are a work in progress. You are never done. Mm-hmm. You're never done. We learn every day.
Splashback.
You're learning something new every day.
Yep.
And I think the most brilliant people out there are the ones who can learn something new. Who can learn something new and invite that. How do I say that? Do you know what I'm saying, though?
No.
Like, there could be a brilliant physicist or whatever else, but if they're introduced to new information and they go, no, that's bullshit, it's my way or no way, because I'm brilliant, I'm the one with the degrees. But I think that the most brilliant people out there are the people who can adapt and listen to other people's opinions and embrace them.
Yep. And embrace them. That is so well said. It's not even funny. Because you have to, if you don't embrace that crap and you don't let that stuff, then I think you're very close-minded in that way.
Ooh. Oh, you're calling people out.
I'm calling people out. I told you I was kind of a bit of an asshole today. But I really think if you will not open that gate up, and this is how it is, I think it's a bit of a closed-minded thing. You just don't allow new information to come in. That's it for this week's podcast. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.